once you made these views, you're going to have to do some editing. And for the editing, let's see, that and that, you know, for when I made the clipping plane from the ground, I made it, what, 7 feet high. Note that on the floor plan, this looks exactly like what this is, which is fine. But when we're taking the section cuts, I think we went this way, 90 degrees, and pushed it in. I have mine something like that, right? Which is this view right here. Okay. This is showing like this. It's because we made the plinth separate and there are things showing in the background. Okay. So what I usually do is to have the perspective view slightly askew, right? Kind of relating back to what this view is doing. Just slightly askew so I don't get confused with the plane. Section cut, it's a vertical line of cut, right? It's like you're taking a knife to a foot-long sandwich and cutting it up and, you know, separating the pieces. Now, what line I see, what line I don't see, this is the part that I have to edit out. If I go right here, this is my floor, this is my wall. My floor does go through out to the wall. That may be true for construction, but it's not a correct way of drawing things. Okay, so this piece right here has been done. When I outputted it, it was in groups, so I'm gonna explode this up. Explode, and now explode. Oh, sorry, it's not explode. Ungroup. With that, it should select each line. Because when I made 2D, remember the option was group it? That's why I usually don't group this thing, because it's easy to move around as a group, but when you go editing it, it's a little bit tough. So this part right here, the curve, this part I don't want to see. So what I usually do is to take this thing and move point back to that point, like so. So I don't see that joint there. When I look at this part right here, does a cut involve these parts back here? No, it does not. So I probably want to get rid of these, like delete them. Delete. So I shouldn't be able to see that. Keep going around. Back here, that's fine. This part right here is showing this part of the wall back here, right? So does it cross this plane of the cut? No, it's beyond it. That's this part right here. It should be gone. Right now, this one's showing as a separate piece, so that's great. I could just delete. Other times, if it was something like this, right here, this line right here, this wall and this wall probably should be in a smooth line, right? Or a smooth plane. So for that, I might shrink this piece out, or there's another way of doing it. It's just trim. And if I hit trim, select cutting objects. So I'm going to cut that, select object to trim, this piece right there, and it gets rid of that piece. It looks like that piece is there, so I'm going to trim that too. Trim, select that cutting edge, select what to cut, and there it is. So this plane right here is this plane right here. It should be, that line should not exist. Likewise, on the elevation, these lines should not exist. So this one is fairly clean at this point. So if I go to the elevation shot of this one right here, this line probably should not exist. Grr, ungroup. Okay, since this line should not exist, I could go move, trim, or whatever. Go to your favorite tool. Trim that object. Whoops. Trim the cutting edge. Trim what to trim. And that is one flat plane. Anything else I should change? Probably not. When we're doing a line work in CAD, that and that line should be separate. But for now, we don't need to do that. Okay? So you go around every elevation, like this one right here. That line should not be there. So this line, should not be there. I know that I see through this window, but in architectural drawing, we kind of show the window and not looking through the window. So we delete that. So all that's showing in this elevation is that square little window. This one right here, what does that look like? Where's my clipping plane? Let me move that out so that I can see this thing. This one right here, whoops, wrong one. This one right here, it looks like the only thing that I really need to clean up is probably this line right here, because that's one clean plane, which is that guy right there. Ungroup. And I should be able to do something like that. Okay, so with that, I could analyze what's the surface, right? What's the surface? What's the surface? What's behind the surface? So if I know that this part right here, this line I would get rid of, but in this view, it's not showing because it's obscured by this wall right here. Do y'all see that? Okay, so that's the other part to clean. This one right here, same thing. Ungroup everything. And just get rid of this line, and that's the object. I could probably get rid of all of these because I'm not really supposed to see these, because that's on the inside wall, right? So that's the elevation is clean there. This guy right here in the perspective, I'm not supposed to see that line right there, so I could clean that up. So if I get rid of this line, that's good. If I get rid of this line, that's probably good. And for this view, that's probably all I really need to do. Everything else does show. Oh, actually this one right here probably needs to be trimmed. Like so. That's getting a little nitpicky, but there it is. I cleaned that up. So again, going to the elevation, going to the section and such, we could look at this thing. Where do we take this section? We took it right in front of the stairs. So if I take this thing, rotate it negative 90 degrees, I think that should get me to that view like this. I think that's the view that I had. Too bad it doesn't go right to the window, but let's just say it's doing something like that. Ideally, I probably wanted to cut through the window back here, because you know what? That's the interesting part of the building. I don't want to cut right through the wall, so I kind of put the window at the wrong place. I guess if I do this, it's still looking like the same view, right? So I will keep this because I'm showing that part. That's the side back of the wall. Yeah. But if I analyze everything here, all of this stuff I do not see. So I could probably just, whoops, Control C. I could probably just select by crossing and delete them all. This one I want to keep because I'm cutting right through this thing. This part right here, I probably want to trim. This part right here, Actually, this is wrong because I should have gotten right to that. Damn it. Okay, let's pretend that this window was a little bit closer in. Okay, so this wall right here, trim both of these and select the part in the middle. And this one right here, its wall is showing, wall is showing. This part right here, the wall is showing. Everything else looks good. Except for right here, that's looking into this space. So I would delete all that stuff. Delete, delete. With that, I should have cleaned every drawing up that I need to. Okay?